Hello and welcome to Temple Street. I'm Kevin Giannattasio.
And I'm Andy Morse. Today we talk about the latest smartphone technology, ask people their thoughts on the local senatorial race, and have a one-on-one interview with Dr. Robert Rosenthal containing presidential election review.
We also speak with Dr. Roy Germano about his film on illegal immigrants from Mexico and hear about the Boston Fluff Festival.
But first, Temple Street takes a look at an upcoming local project. Esplanade 2020 is a project aimed at finding new ways to restore the Esplanade and turn it into a worldwide attraction. Temple Street reporter Shane Walsh and my co-host Kevin has the story.
Just like an Esplanade runner, the park that runs along Boston's Charles River is going to be getting into better shape. The project, called Esplanade 2020, aims to renovate the 100-year-old park into a worldwide attraction, serving locals and tourists for future generations.
The Esplanade 2020 is a vision. It's a vision, it's a report, and also we've created a video about what the Esplanade, the park in Boston, could be in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. So it really goes beyond 20 years. And it's meant to encourage people to think big about what the future of the park could be.
Jessica Peterson, a member of the Esplanade Association, has been working on a proposal to inform and transform the well-known Boston attraction into one of the city's finest outdoor environments. Over the past 2 years, Peterson says, the association has received hundreds of suggestions for improving the park, including how the park should change and numerous objectives for developing the park into a recreational and entertainment landmark.
I think it's a really nice concept. I think it's still evolving. I'm not sure what the end product is. The introduction that I saw, it seemed that there was a little bit too much construction.
I think it would attract more people, but I don't think it would look very nice because right now the Esplanade features the skyline of Boston.
I wish I had one place like this in my city, in Brazil.
In the words of the Esplanade Association, the park looks and functions like a landmark from the 1950s, and with the neglect and deconstruction of the past 70 years, reviving the park is a top priority.
I think most people, when they walk through the Esplanade or they run through the Esplanade or they drive by it, they see an urban oasis, and it is. It's beautiful. It's a historic park, but it needs a lot of help.
I have a hunch though when the thing starts.
Jerry Lafayette, the association's horticulturist, is responsible for the cleaning and maintaining of the park's landscape.
A lot of people look at parks and they think parks take care of themselves, and they really don't. So a place like the Esplanade has a lot of open space, not properly cared for, it grows in.
Weekly group cleanups are only the beginning stages of Esplanade 2020, but Jerry believes the location and resources that the Esplanade provides make it the perfect spot for the project's perfect vision.
A lot of cities don't have a place like this so close to the heart of the city that they can come to. You have to go a lot farther out to find it.
Esplanade 2020 aims to make the park the finest outdoor environment inside Boston's city's limits. The future of the Esplanade is racing its way to becoming a community of tomorrow, utilizing the park as a center location for all things Boston. I'm Kevin Giannattasio for Temple Street.
The Esplanade offers a great outdoor environment to people from Cambridge, Boston, and the entire Commonwealth. We hope you have a chance to check it out before the weather gets too cold.
With the rapid emergence of smartphones, Americans and connected consumers around the world are changing how they perform day-to-day tasks, including the way they shop. A local startup company based here in Boston is leading the pack with a new way to pay. Nick Jones has more on the story.
Level Up is a digital punch card loyalty program, and it has a payment system baked into it, which takes credit and debit cards out of the transaction. You simply enter your card information, and using a generated QR code, you can now pay with your phone. Local technology expert Mike Schneider is here to tell us a bit about the process.
You go to a place, you buy something in the normal way, you say you want to buy something, and then when you pay, you hold up your phone to a transponder and you pay instead of swiping your credit card. It's faster.
300,000 active users agree.
I'll always check if there's places in the area that have Level Up, just because it's so convenient. But the other day I lost my wallet, and so I didn't have my debit card or any cash or anything like that. But it didn't matter because I could still pay on my phone because I had Level Up.
Despite its convenience, some just use it for the rewards.
I'd say I use it probably 2 to 3 times per week, and mainly for the rewards that I get for spending.
A couple bucks off your next meal might not seem like a lot to some, but for others, it adds up.
You spend a certain amount and you'll get maybe $2 or $3 back, but when you're buying things like burritos or coffees, it's actually it's a great savings.
Consumers aren't the only ones who benefit, though. Merchants get valuable information that lets them see where else their customers shop and what they're buying.
For instance, if you're a coffee shop and I'm your customer and I pay with Level Up, you know if I'm going to other coffee shops, you know how often I'm going to other coffee shops, and you can inject new credit in to try to give me incentives to stay at your coffee shop.
Level Up is confident that their security is top-notch. Level Up is 100% secure. We take security of your personal information very seriously. Your credit card information is transmitted by SSL directly to a secure electronic vault. At no time is your credit card information stored on our servers. Level Up is currently accepted at over 3,000 merchants nationwide and are planning to continually expand as the year goes on. Nick Jones, Temple Street.
Level Up is available for free on Android and iOS operating systems.
Senator Scott Brown and Senatorial candidate Elizabeth Warren have been attacking each other for weeks as the November 6th election nears. We go outside the studio with Temple Street reporter Joshua Longmella to hear what viewers have to say.
Today, we take to the streets to get our viewers' thoughts on the Massachusetts senatorial race and the controversial attack ads that have been attacking both parties.
Well, I think that Scott Brown's campaign is pretty dishonest.
I feel like both of them attack each other instead of just making themselves look better.
I think Scott Brown's an excellent candidate, socially moderate, fiscally conservative, and that's something that country needs right now.
He really seems to be attacking her personally while she's attacking him on votes and jobs and proposals.
I like the campaigns about the facts. I really don't like the mudslinging. I don't think there's any place for it. Obviously, it's political. It's going to happen, but I really don't like it. I don't think there's a place for it.
I think it's always hard for a candidate to get their straight message out, as opposed to a lot of hype and a lot of irrelevant information.
$14 million Americans out of work. But instead of focusing on jobs, Elizabeth Warren sides with extreme left protests.
I think the attack ads are kind of sleazy. I mean, I was watching somebody this morning on Channel 2, and they were saying that, you can take any story and blow it out of proportion.
If I start an attack ad, I just think it makes you look kind of bad, because it's like, why do you have to, I mean, you should be making yourself look better.
I tend not to really listen to attack ads, and I kind of look at who's paying for them, where the money's coming from, and kind of make my decision from there.
If the attack ads are focused on accurate things, then I have no problem with them.
People outright attack people, and as far as lying, they can easily lie on ads.
I'd rather see what I'd rather than have me say what you didn't do or did you did vote on. Tell me what you're going to do as a person. Get that out of the way. Tell me what you believe in.
Don't forget to cast your ballot, and remember, every vote counts. Stay tuned for our presidential debate review with Dr. Robert Rosenthal after these messages.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them. Beat them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys.
Okay, this time I'm gonna do it. I'm going to actually go to school.
Tell me about some of the stuff you've had to deal with.
I just dropped out completely. I just got caught up in it. The whole scene with the alcohol and the drugs. I was arrested. A lot of my friends, they were really concerned, especially my friend Aaron. You just have to find someone. They don't have to tell you advice. They don't have to do that. They just listen.
Give your friends the boost they need to graduate. Join us at boostup.org.
Explore new worlds. Read. Visit literacy.gov and let the journey begin.
Dr. Robert Rosenthal, chair of the Communication and Journalism Department here at Suffolk, came to Studio 73 to discuss the debates here in Massachusetts and the upcoming presidential election.
Thanks, guys. Now we would like to welcome Dr. Bob Rosenthal, head of the Communications and Journalism Department here at Suffolk University.
Thank you very much, Josh. Happy to be here.
Thanks, Dr. Bob Rosenthal. Now, we know you are a former debater and local political commentator here at several local television stations. We would just like to bring you into the studio today and just get some of your thoughts on what's been going on with the Massachusetts Senatorial debate, as well as the national political election that's coming up here in November. Now, I'd like to start off with talking about the Mass Senatorial debate between incumbent Scott Brown and candidate Elizabeth Warren, and just get some of your take on what occurred Monday night and what you thought about each candidate going into the debate.
Well, I thought it was a very interesting debate. Unfortunately, the first 19 minutes or so were spent on issues of character, the whole Cherokee thing, et cetera. After that, we actually got into the issues. And the discussion of the issues, I thought, really brought forth some of the differences between the candidates. Clearly, Scott Brown is trying to run essentially as an independent as opposed to a Republican, because he can do the math and he knows there are very few registered Republicans in this state. On the other hand, one of the strategies of Elizabeth Warren is that she's trying to peg him as a member of the Republican Party, so that the issue becomes, if we elect Scott Brown, the Republicans control the Senate. Of course, he's going to run away from that and say, I want to be an independent, I vote independently, I don't always vote with my party, et cetera. So it's kind of an interesting contrast between their views.
Just based on what I've been reading and seeing online from Monday night till now, I know a lot of people have the perception that Scott Brown presented some kind of like a bully tactics, where Elizabeth Warren found herself defending herself more of the time. Your take on that?
Well, Brown made one major gaffe, if you will, and that is when Warren was trying to interrupt a little bit, and there was a lot of interruption in the debate, so that both sides were doing this. But Warren was trying to to correct a fact that Brown had used, and Brown took offense to the interruption and said, it's not like I'm a student in one of your classes. And that's really, I suppose he thought it was a zinger. The danger with zingers is they may not play very well. And in this particular instance, he came across looking like a bully, if you will, as opposed to like someone who is being senatorial and just trying to reclaim his ground and make his statement.
And we'd like to just switch focuses a little bit. For each campaign, we've noticed a lot of the nasty attack ads that are out there. It's been a key thing for a lot of political figures and races from years past. Just give your take on what do you think about attack ads and what do they do or do not do for a campaign?
Well, we used to have a saying that if you're down 5 points in polls, you had to do your attack ads then. Now we start with attack ads from day one. Now in the Massachusetts Senate race, there's not a lot of outside PAC money, but nationally, and just as an aside, that most of the PAC ads, Political Action Committee ads, are negative in nature. There's more negative advertising now than there ever has been, and people start it right off the bat, and it's very true between Warren and Brown with their own campaigns. They're each going to spend about $30 million on their campaigns this year, which is an extraordinary amount of money for a Senate race. And the reason why people use attack ads is because they generally do work. The problem is if there are too many attack ads and that's all that you have out there without some positive ads on your side, you get what is called a boomerang effect. In other words, if I'm Scott Brown or Elizabeth Warren and all I'm doing is attacking, eventually people say, well, that person's not a nice person. And so the attack ads tend to boomerang if that's all there is out there. So you have to mix attack ads with positive ads stating what you stand for. And you're beginning to see some of that again now. But the attack ads are very strong, and they will continue through to the election.
Okay, and I just wanted to get into a couple ads that we have selected here ourselves. One's on attack ad on Elizabeth Warren, and one's on older one on Scott Brown from the 2010 special election between him and Martha Coakley. We're just going to get into that ad now and get your take on that. We're going to watch it now.
14 million Americans out of work. But instead of focusing on jobs, Elizabeth Warren sides with extreme left protests. At Occupy Wall Street, protesters attack police, do drugs, and trash public parks. They support radical redistribution of wealth and violence. But Warren boasts, I created much of the intellectual foundation for what they do. I support what they do. Intellectual foundation for what? We need jobs, not intellectual theories and radical protests.
Now, when we see negative attack ads like that, what do you think they do or do not do for a campaign? Do these hinder or take away votes from a specific candidate?
Well, indeed, what happens is when you put out a negative attack ad, you're looking to do one of two things. One is you may be just trying to say, well, that person, I can't vote for Brown in this instance, but after this negative attack ad, I can't vote for Warren, so I won't vote for anyone, right? And so sometimes you do it just to keep some of the other person's supporters at home. Sometimes you do it to try to flip somebody who would vote for Warren to Brown and Brown to Warren, vice versa. Those are the two basic approaches. Because what you want to do is you want to get your voters to the polls, and you try to keep some of the other voters who would vote for the other side away from the polls. In these particular ads, the first ad about Warren was very shrill. And I don't think that's a particularly effective, she's a socialist, she's a communist, she goes out on Halloween and scares children, that's essentially what that ad is saying. And I think most voters see through that kind of stuff. The second ad is an example of a relatively good negative ad in that it is issue-oriented and talks about someone's votes. And those kind of negative ads are a little bit better in the long run than the ads that are clearly, casting aspersions upon a person's character.
Now we're going to switch to the national stage political debate between President Barack Obama and Governor Mitt Romney. I'm pretty sure you watched last night.
Yes.
Just want to get your take on what you thought about each's side. I know a lot of people I'm seeing saying Obama looked fatigued. A lot of people on the Romney side saying he wasn't answering many of the questions, or he was, not giving the moderator enough time to ask questions, or he's, attacking his, if you will. Who do you think did better?
Well, Romney clearly did better in that debate. If you look at it, he was able to articulate his position. He moved away from a lot of his stances that he had taken in the primaries on the road to more toward the center and away from some of the right-wing positions he had. And no one, and it's Obama's, the president has to push back on that, and he didn't last night. So Romney was really on his game and articulated his positions well and actually shifted some of his positions to the center. The president, unfortunately, did not.
He did look fatigued. A different Obama in the next debate, or
we have to see a different Obama in the next debate. The president did not push back, and I actually think that was part of the strategy. I think what they said was, your popularity ratings are very high, and we don't want you to come across as a scold or being cross with him, so we want you to come across as a nice guy, so we don't want you to attack back. We want you to kind of remain above the fray to be presidential.
And we'd just like to wrap up if you have any last overall thoughts that you would like to get out there, or views that you think the voters should be looking out for as November 6th nears.
I think the election is going to narrow. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for those who love politics, like myself and hopefully yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, fasten your seatbelts. We're going to be in for a real bumpy ride from here until Election Day.
We're not, though.
Now, we'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Bob, for coming and sharing your thoughts with us, and hopefully we'll be able to have you again.
Great. Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
We can't wait to see how this close race unfolds on the 6th of November.
Suffolk University recently hosted distinguished scholar and filmmaker Dr. Roy Germano, speaking about his award-winning film and sharing his thoughts on the United States immigration policy. My co-host Andy Morse has the story.
Hey guys, thanks for having me here today.
On September 20th, Suffolk University hosted its opening ceremony for Hispanic Heritage Month by welcoming Dr. Roy Germano, who came to speak about the effects of his film, The Other Side of Immigration.
It's introduced people to a population maybe that they don't know very much about, and just sort of provided some information to help them maybe make more informed political decisions.
Dr. Germano traveled south of the Rio Grande to collect first-hand accounts of Mexican immigration. But once he was there, how did he get the locals to trust him?
Just stopping in local businesses, saying hi to people, and I think maybe because I'm a foreigner and not a lot of foreigners go to this area, a lot of people were curious about what I was doing there, and I would tell them, and I'd say that, well, I'm making a documentary because I want to bring back a little information about your towns and about what people go through here and why they migrate to the United States.
Dr. Germano surveyed over 700 Mexican households for his research, but one encounter stood out.
Interviewing a woman named Carolina, I went over to her house, spent the day with her family, and just a great family doing what they had to do. The husband migrates from time to time in order to basically pay for their house and so they can put food on the table.
This desire to provide a better life for their family has resulted in about 7 million Mexicans living in the United States without work visas, accounting for 59% of all undocumented workers. Therefore, Germano believes Mexico needs its own class of visas, considering the current quota of 30,000 isn't enough.
Geographic and historical realities demand that kind of thing, but it just goes to show that the Southwest United States has always been sort of a blend between the United States and Mexico, and what that means is that there are families that are on both sides of the border, and a lot of times that those families are trying to unify somehow, and that's what ends up creating visa backlogs.
These visa backlogs are the driving force behind Mexicans crossing the border and undertaking the dangerous journey through the Arizona desert.
When you're out there in the desert, it's just so lonely. I mean, you can cry for help all you want, and nobody's ever going to hear you. There's no cell phone reception out there.
But these cries for help fall upon deaf ears in Capitol Hill.
It's usually Republicans who say this kind of stuff, that they want to make life hell for immigrants. I'm like, you don't have to worry about it because they've already been through hell, or at least people who have gone through the Arizona desert.
In 2011, the U.S. Department of Border Protection reported 368 illegal immigrants died trying to cross the Arizona desert, but new legislation has created hope for the future.
So the deferred action policy is really just a sort of 2-year patch to get us through the next couple years so that young people who've basically grown up in the United States and grown up as American don't have to spend every single day worrying about being deported to a place that they've essentially never lived in and might not even know the language.
President Obama's policy protects 1.7 million Americans from deportation and has brought the immigration topic to the forefront of the election.
Obama administration passed the Deferred Action program. I think it'll be a bigger issue. I think there'll be more of a focus on the DREAM Act.
The Development, Relief, and Education for Alien Minors would grant citizenship to illegal immigrants who graduated high school and were not convicted felons. But Dr. Germano does not want policy to get in the way of the more important point.
Upfront and direct message. A more subtle message is kind of how similar Mexicans and Americans are. I think we're hearing a lot about how different we are, but if you see the film, you'll see a lot of people who are trying to put food on the table and trying to take care of their families, and I think doing what just about any American would do if they found themselves in the same position.
Reporting for Temple Street, I'm Andy Morse.
If you would like to help or learn more about undocumented workers, visit roygermano.com. Saturday, September 29th, marked the 7th annual Fluff Festival in Somerville's Union Square. Temple Street reporters Bridget Wood and Jeanette Glass have more on the sweet celebration.
Fluff lovers from across the city came out to celebrate Fluff's creator Archibald Query and support music and art programs within the community. Bostonians, both young and old, were indulging in many of the Fluff treats. That is, when they weren't shooting rounds of marshmallows at each other. Karen Truer has been to every Fluff Festival for the last 7 years, and now she's one of the head coordinators.
Somerville is just an amazingly creative and innovative place, and I think that's a lot of what the Fluff Festival celebrates. Almost everything here has to do with fluff, or it has to do with creativity and excitement of being in Somerville. And I think that's just something that makes the festival extremely, extremely unique. We have people throwing marshmallows. We have a marshmallow wall.
One main event is the Fluffernutter Relay with skaters from the Boston Roller Derby Dame and a Fluff-inspired cook-off. The festival even had face painting, and of course the paint was made of fluff. It's hard to believe that fluff was first invented 95 years ago. It's still used today in many creative ways. With this year's winning recipe being pistachio rosewater cake, we can only imagine what next year's desserts will be. And all of the bottles of fluff used at the festival were donated by the Fluff Factory. Paul Walker has been the factory's production manager for almost 40 years, and he says he knows everything there is to know about fluff.
Yeah, well, sometimes we make 20 tons of fluff in a day. Yep. We basically use the same ingredients as they have for 92 years. Make fluff, you kind of think you make people happy because they enjoy marshmallow fluff.
For factory owner John Durkee, fluff is his life, and he has seen some interesting uses of fluff over the years, including Susan Olsen from the Brady Bunch, who makes her own fluff art.
The iconic view of the beginning of the show is with each one of the characters in the square. So she's got jars of fluff in each square, and they're all tilted around looking at each other.
Fluff has continued to withstand the test of time and brings people together for the annual Fluff Festivals. Proceeds from the festival fund local projects in the area. For Temple Street, this is Johnette Glass and Bridget Wood.
Proceeds from the festival fund art and music programs within the community. Nothing says community service like having fun with fluff.
That's all from Studio 73. For Temple Street, I'm Andy Morse.
And I'm Kevin Giannattasio.
We'll see you on the flip side.